This health and safety DVD is for all who work in joinery manufacturing workshops in the shop fitting industry, which is known to have one of the highest accident rates in manufacturing, mainly caused by fast-moving woodworking machinery. 25% of major accidents and 1 fatality were caused by fast-moving woodworking machinery in 2010. But woodworking machinery is not the only source of danger. There are other safety issues, such as contact with moving vehicles, slips, trips and falls, and emergencies such as fire and explosions. There are health issues that can affect you, such as noise, wood dust, MDF and manual handling. I believe it is a basic human right to be able to go out to work and to come home again safely and without your health having been affected. The point of this DVD is not to try and stop some of the processes that are necessary for our industry, but to try and highlight some of the issues and then to suggest ways to either eliminate or control some of the risks. The final thing I want to say to you is if while at work you think you're involved with something which is unsafe or which is putting your health at risk, stop and seek advice from someone in control. I know that your employer will support you in doing this because together we can make a safer industry.
Being safe in a workshop means that you are not only your own safety, but you are also, it's everybody else's safety. You've got to look to see what you're doing and how it affects everybody else.
It's basically everybody's responsibility. All the operatives are fully trained and made fully aware that they have a huge responsibility in keeping safe in themselves and also their work colleagues.
It's important for everyone who works for us here to be aware of their responsibilities in working safely.
It's all down to common sense and discretion, really.
A safe worker is somebody who understands what they've been trained to do, someone I think who's aware of the hazards and is not afraid to stop and raise an issue to say that they're not happy in the way that they're doing it as part of a work safe policy.
Well, obviously you should be trained enough for the actual job that you're doing, but yeah, it's important to have a site manager on site to acknowledge if you're working safely on that job.
We need to ensure that members of staff are trained in what they have to do and that they operate particular machinery in the way that they've been trained to do it.
It's important to have workers properly trained because it prevents accidents around the machine that they're working on, and that gives them a knowledge of how the machine works safely and properly.
At work, if everybody's aware of a hazard, then it makes it easier for all work employees to be safe, and also that if they are taught the correct way to safely use a machine, it makes it safe for themselves and everybody else.
We ensure that people are trained in what they have to do. We run apprenticeship schemes through the training procedures, and then we supply the equipment and the machinery that makes sure they can do the job properly.
The right PPE for everybody to use is make sure you're using ear protection, eye protection and the right safety clothing and safety footwear, and that you are aware that at all times if you keep your area tidy, then you make it safe for yourself and everybody else.
Gloves, eye protection and ear defenders.
Wearing the right PPE is of paramount importance. It is there to protect various aspects of your body, whether it's ear protection, eyes, nasal protection from dust masks, safety footwear, anything like that, gloves.
Safety boots for things falling in your toes, and safety glasses for obviously machines which give off maybe chippings, just for your own personal safety.
Everyone should be wearing the correct PPE for the job they're undertaking.
PPE is very important for your own personal health. For instance, dust masks work with MDF and woods which give off a fine dust.
Wood dust from our factory, we have a proper industrial extraction system, which is supported by a filter system as well. So it takes out all the nasties out of the building. They are filtered through, then disposed of in a metal container, which is then taken to landfill and disposed of.
Exposure to noise can be dangerous, so it's vital that you wear correct ear protection.
Noise is pretty important. In our metal shop, it tends to be not that noisier an area. We do have noise monitoring carried out, where particularly the machine shop, in terms of joinery machinery, is identified as a noise protection area, and we supply hearing protection for working in that area.
The mill is a total ear protection zone because it operates between 80 to 90 decibels most of the day, and therefore anybody in this area, it's compulsory ear protection.
Very important. They've got to make sure they're wearing all PPE at all times.
It's providing the right PPE and training people in terms of how they need to use it.
It's important that your workplace is kept neat and tidy, and that eating should be kept to designated areas.
All walkways must be clear for wherever you move machinery or material around, so that there's no hazards for injuring yourself.
If you have an accident, you obviously report it to your site manager, and then they would record it into the health and safety booklet.
All our floors continuously cleared. We keep all our inflammable goods in the right protective building. We have proper fireboxes to keep smaller inflammable goods in them, spray aerosols, that sort of thing.
If you discover a fire, you must follow the proper evacuation procedure, press an alarm if necessary, and literally evacuate the building safely and calmly.
You avoid fires in the workplace by one, not smoking, turn the machine off once you're finished with it.
Never use a machine if you haven't been trained to use it. Training is very important. You need to be aware and fully aware of the machinery they're going to use.
To use a machine safely, again, it's all back to training really. The operative needs to be trained to use that machine. They need to make sure they use the guards on that machine when they're required to do so, and that they operate the machine in line with their training.
It's important to inspect machines and report defects, because for your own personal safety, whoever's working at the machine knows that the machine is working to its full potential.
Make sure the guards are used correctly and the emergency stops are working correctly.
Use guards for your own personal safety and for the safety of others working around the machine, who is maybe helping you and working with you.
The biggest issue I think that we have is probably manual handling, because sometimes we're handling very large doors or very heavy material. And what we generally do is do an assessment before we move any item and look at how many operatives we might need to do that, or whether we can use some lifting equipment to assist in that process.
When handling materials, make sure that you're trained in handling those certain materials, and that any certain lifting aids are used.
A risk assessment and using lifting aids.
Using manual handling aids, it helps you prevent stress in the back.
The most common related accidents are minor cuts, really, with Stanley blades. Stanley knife blades is still one of the highest injuries, whether it's in the workshop or on site.
It probably is manual handling issues or slips and trips occasionally. We seem to have that as a fairly repetitive thing. And part of that is materials being left where they shouldn't have been left. And also, just thinking about how we do the activities before we do them.
Accidents occurring because guards aren't in place, horseplay, fooling about. Yeah, those kind of things.
Cuts are our main injury.
Hand-on vibrations caused by the use of equipment or tools that will generate a vibration in your arm, leading to carpal tunnel syndrome and various other things. The way you can avoid it is by assessing the tools that are used and limiting the use for those that have a high vibration rating to a certain period of time during an 8-hour day.
Simple advice is always obey the rules and regulations that are being cascaded to you. Always follow all the health and safety guidelines to the letter.
All safety is all completely about common sense. Follow all the rules and you will be safe.
If you use those simple rules, you will go through life without injuring yourself or others.
There's always a way to go in safety. You know, there's never space for complacency, and you can always improve from where you are.
But if they follow all the guidelines that are in place by the company, wear all the right PPE, then that is the way to prevent the accidents in the first place.